lot of veterans in the United States. There's a lot of guys that are still training with their friends, their buddies, their groups, their communities all over the United States. And what are they training for? Well, I'm probably going to guess things like this. Remember this? When the government allegedly backed down from a bunch of ranchers and veterans and militia guys? Since 1932, the government has been screwing over its veterans. And right here, you're looking at actual footage where they were arresting World War I veterans because they showed up in Washington, D.C., demanding the bonuses the government promised them and never delivered. Eisenhower, MacArthur, these guys were in charge of actually getting rid of these guys, and as you can see, shooting and killing a few of them. These guys marched into Washington, D.C. on horses, in tanks, drew bayonets, started burning down the hovels that these poor guys were living in. And the only reason they showed up in Washington was to demand the pay the government promised them for fighting World War I. And the government never came through. This is how the government treated their own veterans in World War I. This is how the government treated their own citizens at the Bundy Ranch standoff. This is what the government did to women, children, and a few armed people at Waco, Texas. And do you want to know how they deal with this stuff now? They use microwave weapons, 5G, frequencies. These guys can deploy this stuff miles away and you wouldn't even see it. So for those that think that the government would never do this, they would never turn on their beloved veterans, they've done it before, more than once. And some of the most notable names in history, again, MacArthur, Eisenhower. These guys were the ones that led the march. And this is them knocking down the veterans that showed up, many of them barefoot, to collect their bonuses for fighting in World War I, only for Senate to shut them down and send them packing. This is what they've come up with. So if you're in a militia or if you're training, if you're deep somewhere in the woods, you might want to get familiar with this kind of technology because this is the stuff you're going to be facing. And chances are, most of the time, you won't even know you're facing it. I've said this time and time and time again. And to the guys I just met on the road, I said it to you face to face. Knowing how to use a gun, training with weapons is great, but if you can't remember how to pick up the weapon and squeeze the trigger, they win. At any rate, Richie from Boston, I am out.